How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today's video begins with a quote: "Believe and act as if it were impossible to fail." Now that comes from a guy called Charles Kettering. He was the head of research at General Motors from the 1920s until way past the Second World War was over. Throughout his lifetime he got 186 different patents to his name, so he was a bit of an inventor and that kind of thing. So I just think it's a great quote. Can you actually believe as if it were impossible to fail? You know, is it possible to actually believe that about something that you're about to do, especially something that you've never done before or something that fills you with a lot of trepidation? And I think sometimes you have to act first and then believe second, right? So you have to go out and you have to, what's the old saying, try it before you buy it, or faking it until you make it. And I think this is basically what we're doing in the first few days, the first few weeks of quitting drinking alcohol. You know, we're putting on a brave face, we're smiling even though inside we might be worried and in a bit of turmoil, anxious about what's going to happen. You know, even though we might have built up a lot of momentum on the way, you know, until we got to this day, and then finally comes the time to make the stop, and you say, right, tonight's the night, or today's the day, and it comes to the day, and during the day you're grand because you don't normally drink during the day, and then it gets to the evening, and as the evening winds on, you slowly start to, you know, get a bit more anxious about what you're going to do in the evening, and you push through, you know. But you do this all step by step, bit by bit, day by day, until you build up experience. So it's acting first and then believing second. You move forward one step, you make a mistake, you pick yourself up from that mistake, you move forwards a little bit more, you make the mistake. And this same ritual, this same routine is going to happen throughout your journey into alcohol mastery, right? Into your new life, as you start to build new habits and break down the old habits of your old life. This is going to be the same thing. You know, you're going to sort of have to act out first and believe second. And as you make mistakes and you sort of overcome those mistakes, then you get a bit more belief in yourself, a bit more self-confidence. And it's one of those things where one mistake builds on another mistake, not in a downward spiral, but in a learning sequence. If you can learn from what you're doing, if you learn by your mistakes and figure out what went wrong and why you made the mistake in the first place, then it's a lot easier to move forwards again and do the next thing. And do the next thing after that, because you're building an experience, you're building self-confidence that not only are you capable of moving forwards, but you're capable of overcoming the mental obstacles of making a mistake. You know, because I think that sometimes is what happens to people, is they get a mental block when they make a mistake and they start thinking to themselves, well, you know, I just can't do this, you know, and they give in. Whereas the person that pushes through regardless, the person who gets it into their head that yes, they can make a mistake, and yes, they're going to make a mistake, but also yes, that and these mistakes are a part of the pathway, and that each of these mistakes is going to bring them further and further away from the alcohol and closer to the thing that they want to do in their life. Now, I'm living proof of that, right? 4 years after I've stopped drinking, I wouldn't go back to that if you paid me, right? It would take an awful lot of money to get me to take a drink again. But I'd never go back to that lifestyle, because no matter how much money you're giving me, what's life worth, you know? I mean, my life was just going down the chute really quickly. My health was suffering, my mental health, my physical health, everything, you know, in my life was suffering. And, you know, from those first tentative movements into this life at the beginning, all those things that I tried to do and sort of didn't pull them off, and, you know, all the different mistakes that I made in the beginning. No mistake that led me back to alcohol. That was a determining factor that, I was determined to persist in that, and there was nothing that was going to turn me back from that. But, moving forwards and trying to figure out what I was going to do next, that's where I made a lot of my mistakes, But, as I say, life is just made from mistakes, and, if you look at a mistake like a learning process, then you're always going to do well for yourself. And I often think back to where would I be now if I hadn't chosen the route that I had, if I hadn't decided in my own head that yes, I could do this on my own. If I hadn't quit drinking for 10 months previously, then I probably would have done that, I mean, maybe if I was in a different country now, say if I was in America, when I was stopped for drinking and driving, the judge said to me, yeah, you've lost your license for a year. You have to pay €600 in a fine, but that's it. Let off, and that was a let off. Now, if I was in a different country, they could have said to me as part of the sentence that I had to go to the AA, right? And what would have happened if I'd have gone to the AA then, if they'd have said to me, well, forced into my head that doctrine that I was never going to be free from alcohol, right? That alcohol was always going to be a stain on my life. It was always going to be there, just behind the surface, waiting to strike. What would happen if I had to go to those meetings, and every time I had to go there, I had to stand up and say, my name's Kevin O'Hara, I'm an alcoholic, and it's been X number of days since I last had a drink, That brainwashing, where would I be now? And I don't think I'd be anywhere near doing what I'm doing. And certainly alcohol mastery wouldn't exist. I'm not sure if I would have stayed off the drink. I don't think I could have stayed off the drink under that kind of thinking, I'm one of those people that if I know something is sure in my life, then, you sort of, sometimes you have to give in to the inevitability of things, and I'm not sure if I would have gone down that road and just said, yeah, well, if it's inevitable that I'm an alcoholic, I might as well be an alcoholic and stay that way, So I'm fortunate that I didn't go down that route, and I wasn't living in a country which forced me to do that, to go down that route. And today I'm out walking in the hills of Alicante, a long way from where I started 4 years ago. I've severed all the ties that I have ever had with alcohol, personally drinking alcohol and putting it into my system, or the behaviour of alcohol drinking. And I'm helping so many other people to see the same thing, just to see that it is possible to do this on your own, that you don't need to be an alcoholic for your life, that, if somebody tells you you're an alcoholic for your life, that it's detrimental to you and to your habit and to moving yourself forwards into your life, right? So I think that the best part of this approach, believing and acting as if it was impossible to fail, is that even if you do fail, even if you make a mistake and you go back on the booze, right, say, and you learn from the mistake and you stop again, this kind of thinking just energizes you, right? It gives you a positive spin on the world, right? It forces you to think in positive ways. It forces you to think in a way that that if it's impossible to fail, you're going to sort of push yourself to try anything, and you won't leave any stone unturned to look forward. I hope that makes sense. So I'll leave it there for now. Come on over to the website, alcoholmastery.com. There's just loads of information over there. There's over 600 videos at the moment on helping you from many different aspects of quitting drinking alcohol. We've got a forum. We have a weekly, a daily newsletter at the moment. If you sign up to that, you'll get a daily video in your inbox, helping you on your quit drinking journey. So come on over to there, and until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take care of yourself, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, onwards and upwards. Take care, bye now.